Perfect, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully it works to get our presentation up. Does that work?
Works for me.
Perfect. And great, yeah, and great that you're recording it, because I know that not many people have been able to attend today, but if we can record it and also share the recording, then hopefully it will be a good resource for people, hopefully once things settle down. Just a note in as well, the London Progress collaboration that I'll be introducing today, it does focus on 3 sectors: hospitality, retail, and construction, which obviously sit out slightly outside of the work that you do through Austera. But hopefully the information that we outlined today will still be useful. There are definitely apprenticeships that apply to your organisation, and so the general information will hopefully be useful to you as well, and we can offer some support for you as well.
Thank you for the clarification.
No problem. So during the webinar today, I want to kind of cover 3 objectives. So I want to introduce apprenticeships as a solution to skills and recruitment issues, give some practical examples of employer best practice, and introduce the London Progression Collaboration and how we can help. So the original setup was to have 30 minutes of content and 30 minutes for questions, but obviously it's likely that we'll be a bit shorter than that, given the situation and the turnout that we've managed to get. So yeah, you might get some time back, which can only be a good thing, right? So we know that the social enterprise sector contributes considerably to the UK economy, and has a significant role to play in the labour market. So research by Social Enterprise UK has indicated that the sector contributes about 24 billion to the UK economy, and that there was about 700,000 social enterprises in the UK employing nearly 1 million people. We also know that social enterprises are really valuable community assets. So the sector is supporting some of the most deprived communities in the UK, and the more deprived a community is, the more likely there is for a social enterprise to be there. We also know that social enterprises are able to employ local people. So almost 8 out of 10 do recruit local people. We also know that the social enterprise sector is able to offer really diverse and inclusive leadership. So that includes hiring disabled people, hiring people that have been excluded from the job market, and having a diverse leadership that are led by women. And that's more so in London than elsewhere in the UK. But we also know that the sector, like other businesses up and down the country, is facing a skills shortage. So again, research that has been carried out cite that 14% of social enterprises cite skills shortage as a barrier to sustainability, and almost 1 in 10 cited issues with recruiting other staff. We also know that particular barriers to growth are skills that include marketing, branding, and PR, and also technology and digital skills. These kind of challenges, these skill challenges, do relate to the London economy as a whole. So we know that London is a real energy of jobs growth, with the rate of jobs growth in London being the highest in the UK compared to any other region. Both pay and productivity are higher in London than elsewhere, but crucially, not all Londoners have an equal share in the success of the capital's economy. So London's workforce is highly polarised, and there is a large share of lower skilled and lower lower skilled and medium skilled jobs. And there's relatively few in the middle. Many sectors and employers do not have the skills that they need to get on in a competitive environment, so there's a skill shortage. Our partner, the GLA's partner on the London Progression Collaboration Project, IPPR, has shown that 1 in 5 employers in the UK earn less than the, in London, sorry, earn less than the London living wage, and this is the minimum that people need to get on in the capital. Residents in London that lack higher level qualifications are much less likely to get on and progress into employment or progress in employment than their peers with higher qualifications. And a lot of people get stuck in a low pay or no pay cycle, moving between unemployment and lower skilled, lower paid work. Despite these challenges, the uptake of apprenticeships in the UK is lower than any other region. So, for example, a survey conducted by London councils showed that whilst the majority of businesses knew the potential that apprenticeships had for their workforce, fewer than 1 in 10 employers in the capital currently employ an apprentice. So in this webinar, what I want to do is demonstrate how apprenticeships are an important part of the skills puzzle and can help businesses within the enterprise sector and within London generally address skills shortages. So it's clearly not going to solve all the issues, but it is one solution to the issues of skills shortage. So these are figures that I'll come back to, but there is research that shows that apprenticeships can address both skills gaps and productivity. Apprentices become highly skilled before they finish their training, and 78% of employers say that having an apprentice improved productivity. It also enables you to, as a business, to improve your image in the sector and have a general effect on employee well-being and retention. So I really wanted to begin to give an overview of apprenticeships and an idea of how they can work. So there will be time for questions at the end as well, but if you do have anything, do jump in at any time. We won't be able to go into all the details today because there's lots of options within the apprenticeship programme. But if anyone has interest in this issue, we can support you on a one-to-one basis to show how it works for your business. So apprenticeships are a system of work-based learning that combines learning and studying in the workplace with an element of off-the-job training. And so this is training that is delivered by a training provider, which can be a public training provider like a college, or it can be an independent training provider. So this off-the-job training can be classroom-based, it can be taught virtually or digitally, or it can even take place at your workplace. Apprentices are employees of the organisation, but the training provider provides that extra support and learning to help them develop and to build really core and crucial skills as they go through their learning journey. Apprentices, as I said, have an element of learning off the job, but they can take those skills back to the workplace to benefit the whole organisation. Learning providers are regulated by the government and the ESFA and are inspected by Ofsted. So there is a quality check as well. As we've already seen, apprentices can have a real impact on retention. So 69% of employers say employing apprentices improves staff retention, you are investing in staff, you're making an investment in their learning, and they are much more likely to stay. And 74% of employers also have reported that apprenticeships can improve products or service quality. And 73% of employers have reported that it can investing in apprenticeships can improve staff morale, which all those issues can be seen as issues to sustainability for businesses. Apprenticeships can be a number of different levels. So this ranges from level 2, which is equivalent to a GCSE, to level 4, which is a degree level or higher, and can be used to recruit for entry-level positions, or it can be used for employees who you want to develop through your organisation. So it can be for a new starter to get their first rung on the ladder, or it can be for existing employees or even founders who want to think about their development and their progression. The way that apprenticeships are funded differs greatly depending on the size of the organisation. So the Apprenticeship Levy that was introduced in 2016 required businesses that had a wage bill of over £3 million to pay a proportion of that, so 0.5 of that bill, into an apprenticeship levy, which they would need to use exclusively on apprenticeship training. For SMEs, they can fund apprenticeships through either co-investment, where they will pay 5% of the amount for apprenticeship training, with the government covering 95%, or through receiving a levy transfer. And we'll go on to this a bit as we kind of progress through the presentation. So, as we've said, the Apprenticeship Levy in 2016 required larger employers to ring fence an amount of money that would go towards paying for an apprentice within their organisation. So levy payers are required to spend this apprenticeship money within 2 years. If this is not used, then this is lost to the employer. So it's use it or lose it. Our research and general kind of research indicates that larger levy payers are really struggling to spend this funding. So our research showed or estimated that there's about 470 million unspent apprenticeship levy money in the capital. So this is why the LPC are talking to levy payers about levy transfer. So levy payers can transfer 25% of their unspent allocation to smaller employers, which covers the full cost of training and assessment for an apprentice. So that means that we can talk to larger levy payers who may be struggling to spend their money to pay for an apprenticeship about partnering with smaller organisations, including social enterprises, to support them to take on an apprentice. So this covers the full cost of training and assessment for apprentices, but importantly, the wages will still be the responsibility of an employer. So that still stays up to you. But we really think that there is a real opportunity here for the social enterprise sector to receive funding that they can use and invest in training an apprentice, and meaning that they do not have to pay any costs for that training. So any cost that they would have paid through co-investment, that can be used to reinvest within the social aspects of your business. It can also be a great way of developing existing corporate relationships. So talking to your corporate partners about apprenticeship levy transfer and supporting you as an organisation in that way. And we've already talked about the benefits of apprenticeships for staff retention, for productivity, but also for the quality of your products and services. So I wanted to give you some example of apprenticeship standards that exist that might be relevant to the social enterprise sector. And obviously within the sector, there is organizations doing a lot of different things. So for any particular business needs that you have, do talk to me afterwards so we can find an apprenticeship standard that works for you. But apprenticeship standards are basically the title of the qualification that apprentices get through their learning journey. These are, as I've said, intermediate from GCSE level equivalent to higher or even degree level. So these are a few examples. So at the GCSE equivalents, level 2, we have a commis chef. So someone working within a hospitality environment, doing basic functions within a kitchen, and learning skills such as culinary, food safety, people skills, and communication. At the advanced level, so level 3 is about equivalent to an A-level qualification, and an example of that is a business administrator. So the development of transferable skills that can be applied to different sectors or industries. So for example, IT, document production, decision-making, and project management. And then this can go all the way up to level 6, which is a degree level apprenticeship. So the example I've given here is digital marketeering, which I know can be a skills gap for some in the social enterprise sector. So this is a full integrated degree program which lasts for 36 months and is developing the skills to create and lead on the digital marketing strategy. So content creation, management across different platforms, customer and relationship management, and market research. And as you can see through these examples, the length of time an apprenticeship takes does vary depending on what it is and the level, and so does the funding. And this funding is what training providers will charge for an apprenticeship. And this is the money that can be covered by a levy transfer. So as you can see, it can be quite significant. And it's a real opportunity to cover the costs of that through levy transfer. I wanted to give some examples of employers that are doing apprenticeships and engaging in the apprenticeship system, both within the social enterprise sector and outside of the sector as well, just to give you a bit of a taste. And the first one that I'll be talking about, is Beyond Food. So Beyond Food are a hospitality business and run Brigade Bar and Bistro, which is a busy restaurant in London Bridge. But they also are a social enterprise that support homeless individuals through apprenticeship provision. Now they have two pathways for their apprenticeship program. United Kitchen, which takes apprentices and places them within the kitchen within Brigade Bar and Bistro. And those employees work towards a chefing apprenticeship and an out front apprenticeship, which focuses on front of house roles. So each strand is delivered by a training provider, but delivered within the restaurant. And apprentices do 40 hours a week, as well as additional learning provided by their training provider. After the apprenticeship, apprentices will go on to spend a year doing a work placement within one of the partners of Beyond Food. And as a result of this apprenticeship program, the majority of learners are transitioned into employment, both within Brigade, but also with employer partners as well. So a second case study I will be covering today is UBS. So as you know, UBS are a successful financial services organisation and they are also an apprenticeship levy transfer. And they have a lot of engagement in the apprenticeship system for their own staff. So they have about 400 apprentices at different levels. Despite this, UBS have a significant amount of unspent levy allocation. So they had money that there was not being spent, and as I've said previously, this unspent money, if it's not used within 2 years, is lost to the organisation. So it's a use it or lose it kind of situation. So instead of losing this funding, UBS decided to support their existing charity and community partners. So this was 15 charities in total. So they decided to engage in apprenticeship levy transfer and support those community and charity partners to take on an apprentice. They decided to give this project a real focus. So they identified the skills gap of data analysis and management, and decided to support existing members of staff within those community partners. And the impact of this has been engaging 36 learners enrolled on apprenticeship programs, and around £375,000 of apprenticeship funding transferred to support apprenticeships in those smaller those organisations. So this is not a project that the LPC has been involved in, but we use this to demonstrate really good practice in how a larger employer can support smaller organisations generating social value to take on an apprenticeship. The last case study that I'll just talk about is an organisation slightly different and outside of the social enterprise sector, but it's an organisation that we've been working with directly on their apprenticeship programme. And that's Planet Organic, who run, as I'm sure you know, a number of stores across London, but also internationally, focusing on organic produce and health food. So Planet Organic are levy payers, but are fairly small levy payers, which means that they have a small levy pot and a limited ability to fund apprenticeships through their own levy. The apprentices that they do have in the organisations are at level 2, so that's retail level 2, and they have management and leadership candidates at levels 3 and 5. Their level 2 apprentices are offered the same pay as other team members and are offered a full-time position upon completing their programme of study. And they particularly focused on recruiting young people with lower qualifications for these roles from their local community. And they rotate them across different areas and different roles within the business. They found that this creates really skilled and flexible team members. In addition to these, Planet Organic has used the level 3 standard, which is about A-level equivalent, to upskill their existing team members and take on supervisor and management positions. They found this a really great way of progressing staff that may have few or limited qualifications, and also progress them in a way that they can gain qualifications and training on the job rather than kind of doing a separate qualification or skill training. Similarly, level 5, which is getting towards degree level equivalent, has supported the professional development of existing members of staff and transition people from team members to senior roles within the business. The London Progression Collaboration has been working with Planet Organic on apprenticeship levy transfer. So Planet Organic have received a transfer of funding from LPC partner, which enables them to add capacity and value to their apprenticeship position. Specifically, this has funded a cohort of 20 level 2 retail apprenticeships and supported the progression of 20 team members into leadership through the level 3 retail team leader apprenticeship. Their current levy would only allow them to take on 6 level 2 retail apprenticeships. So the money that we've secured through our partner has enabled them to add significant capacity to this offering and support their local communities through offering really accessible employment opportunities. To end, so I've given an overview about the apprenticeship system and skills issues, but also some employer case study. I now want to talk a little bit about the London Progression Collaboration, what we do and how we can support social enterprises to think about their apprenticeship provision. So the London Progression Collaboration is seeking to help over 1,000 Londoners to progress into work and from lower skilled, lower paid work into better quality and higher paying jobs. To deliver this, we support employers to create new apprenticeships to meet their and their sector's needs, which offer sustainable progression opportunities to Londoners. So we are a project which is co-delivered by the Greater London Authority and the Institute of Public Policy Research, and we're specifically looking to support businesses to think about apprenticeships as both the solution to their skills issues, but also a way to really benefit Londoners by offering them good quality entry level and progression opportunities and help some of those issues we saw around skills gaps, but also limited opportunities in the London labour market. We are a fully funded business support service. So we are funded by JP Morgan Foundation and the Greater London Authority. So we offer support to businesses on a fully funded basis. And we're particularly interested in supporting businesses across construction, retail and hospitality. And we offer both strategic and practical support. And in particular, the sectors that we support are quite broad, so it can be businesses or social enterprises within those sectors, or it can be specific roles that may be around retail or hospitality, for example, that may be in different businesses and industries. So those are defined quite broadly. Some of the support that we do is around giving businesses and industries a first taste of apprentices and apprenticeships through delivering webinars like this. So we deliver end-to-end apprenticeship support, so we can review any current training or apprenticeship strategy that you might have, if you have any, and support every step of the journey from finding out about an apprenticeship and finding out about the opportunities to recruiting and onboarding an apprentice, to ongoing support and reviewing your strategy as you scale up. We do apprenticeship levy transfer brokerage. So that is identifying suitable levy transfer partners, brokering a negotiation and supporting the process. So we're particularly interested in speaking to social enterprises about receiving levy transfer, because we have identified a particular interest and opportunities for larger employers to use their unspent apprenticeship levy money to create social value, both supporting their existing social enterprise partners and aligning to CSR and sustainability commitments. So we think there's a particular interest there for supporting social enterprise. And we also seek to develop a powerful knowledge transfer network. So this will be probably a series of events at City Hall, but also a network that is both virtual and physical, that will connect employers that are championing really good practice within apprenticeships and connecting them to share best practice and common knowledge. So why work with the London Progression Collaboration? So we have sector expertise, so we have expert knowledge of the apprenticeship system and the sectors and businesses with which we work. But we work really hard to translate this this technical knowledge into something that's really understandable and simple for businesses to make the most out of. We also ensure to put people before the program, so we're excellent relationship managers, and we really want to ensure that the support that we provide is aligned to business needs and meets the needs of our partners. But similarly, we're interested in apprenticeships in order to support Londoners, particularly those that are currently in lower skilled or lower paid jobs. So we're interested in quality apprenticeships and using apprenticeships as a solution to business skills shortage and labour market issues in the capital. And we also work in partnerships. So we are a completely neutral and non-commercial business support programme. So we are able to signpost businesses in a fair way to our partners, both training providers, other employers, or other organisations like industry bodies, and we will be able to provide those connections for businesses that meet their needs. As I've said, we are funded independently by JP Morgan Foundation, so the business support that we provide is neutral and really tailored to meet the needs of our partners. So I think that was it for the presentation. I know that there's not a great deal of people on the call, but if there was any questions, yeah, do let me know now.
Thank you so much, Jack. I understand that you work in a sector that's not the same as ours,
Yeah.
but some of the skills that you mentioned could certainly be useful to us, including, for example, marketing skills, or probably even user research and things and technical, as in IT skills. We tried to have people on an not exactly apprenticeship, but maybe internship programs before, and it's very, very tricky in terms of quality, because I mean, I totally understand that someone joining you would be expecting that you will invest in their training, but again, is there an initial filtering or an initial way for me as an employer to have to interview the people who will come on the scheme, or how does it work? How does allocation happen? Is there some sort of like interviews, and do you have a say as an employer on choosing the?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and because so there's two ways that employers recruit apprentices. So two ways, that apprentices get recruited. So one is through a learning provider. So it will be a provider that you work with that will deliver the apprenticeship and that 20% off the job that I talked about, off the job training that I talked about. So they can recruit apprentices and work with businesses to enroll them. So even in that case, the employer should have a role to play in giving an interview and making sure that that individual is relevant. Sorry, not relevant. That business is appropriate to that employer is appropriate to the business and relevant to your business needs. But the second pathway is that actually the employer can recruit the apprentice themselves and then identify a training provider that will be able to support them to deliver the training. So there's two ways. So because it is an accredited program, it is structured so the employer is more than welcome to recruit those apprentices themselves and then identify a training provider. And remember that the apprentice may not just be a new starter, it may be an existing member of staff or even a founder. So it's at different levels. Something that the London Progression Collaboration is also doing is providing training to employers to develop a mentoring framework for new apprentices, because we recognise that it can be difficult for an apprentice to enter the workforce. You know, sometimes that's a young person who may not have worked before, or it may be someone that's an existing member of staff that has taken a step up in their career. So they might need some pastoral support from a line manager or somewhere else. So if that's a particular interest or gap for a business, we're able to provide training for their staff to develop a robust support and mentoring framework.
Thank you so much.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, certainly, yes. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
I have one more question, but I will wait. I will keep it until other questions are raised.
I have a few questions, Jack. We might have discussed a few of them before, but I think it might be good for people to hear who will listen to the webinar afterwards. So you mentioned that, but just to confirm again, we work with a lot of small businesses that they might just be the founder themselves, or a founder and co-founder, and that's the team. Could they take advantage of that? And I think you briefly mentioned it before.
Yeah, of course. So an apprentice can be anyone within the organisation. So that includes existing employees, and that can include a founder or co-founder. And it can be a great opportunity for those individuals to really think about their skills that they've developed, think about their role, and think about getting some accreditation for that, which will give them the skills to grow their business. To be completely transparent, the only challenge that there will be is that requirement for the off-the-job training. So there will be a requirement for a proportion of time, which is about 20% of the apprenticeship, that they will need to do training that is not related to their day-to-day job. And obviously that's a challenge for founders that we know are very busy and have a very packed workload. But this can be flexible. So if you work with a good training provider, they will be able to support you to do this training virtually, for example, in online learning. So there's different ways that you can look at it.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think you also responded to my second question, which is, what is the time commitment for this? I guess it depends on the training.
Exactly. So the time commitment. So apprentices last, typically they last about 12 months to 18 months. That's the typical time period. It can be more than that for the higher levels. And the time commitment for the apprentice is around 20% off the job training. So that can be, so if you're working 5 days a week, it can be one day a week, or it can be delivered in different ways. So it can be, a week a month, or things like that, a few hours a day. So there's different ways of doing it, but it's that 1/5 of time you will be doing work towards your apprenticeship that will be away from your day-to-day job. That off-the-job training actually can also be within the business. So it can be doing things like shadowing a different team member, or shadowing a different organization. So it can be in work, but it's doing something that's outside your normal day job, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Thank you. And in terms of perhaps I'll keep this for the end, but more the process, if someone is interested, what are next steps? But perhaps, Ines, if you had any other questions, or Jessica, I'll let you answer that before we jump to the process.
Yeah, actually, it was something relevant to this, and because I understand that there are sectors that you mainly focus on for people outside these sectors, and I think that many of the startups are in the tech field, for example. How do they go about accessing the system?
Yeah, definitely happy to answer that question. So yeah, our focus is mainly on those 3 sectors, and that's because of our funding, and those are sectors that have been initially identified by both the GLA and JP Morgan Foundation as a priority for this sector. So most of our efforts and work will be into those 3 sectors. However, I would be happy to have a conversation with social enterprises across the Impact Hub membership about taking this forward. So I can offer some light touch advice, but I can also offer some connections to partners who are working with these sectors or may be interested in supporting these sectors. So for example, we have partners within training providers who can offer the same sort of advice around taking on an apprentice, and we also have larger levy payers who are looking to transfer some of their funding both within our sectors but within other organisations as well. So I guess what I'm saying is that we can be flexible and happy to have that conversation with you in us, but also with other enterprises.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, so then Jack, I guess if anyone who's in this call or might listen to the webinar afterwards is interested in applying, I'm not sure exactly what the process is, learning more, is it the first step is basically reaching out to you?
Exactly. So I'm very keen to talk to anyone that's seen this webinar and interested in finding out more and doing kind of initial meeting assessment about any experience you've had with apprentices before, where you are and kind of what you want your engagement to be. So yeah, that would be the first step. I think my contact details are on the slides as well at the end. We are working with partners, larger levy payers who are interested in supporting social enterprises through transferring funding. We've got, for example, a particular interest at the moment from a larger employee on supporting digital marketing apprentices. So yeah, any enterprise interested in that or any other kind of apprenticeship, please do reach out to me. We haven't got a formal process in place for next steps, but I'm here to have those initial conversations.
Good, thank you.
Was there any other questions at all? Great. So my contact details will be circulated, but they're also on the slide, and our website and our Twitter is here as well. So yeah, do get in touch with me. And Aurelia, are you going to circulate this recording somehow to members, do you think?
Yes, I'm going to circulate this recording to people who signed up for the Eventbrite, and I'm also going to circulate it with members, definitely, and the program participants. Some of them in the food sector, it might be interesting.
Great, perfect. If you could send it to me as well, I think it would be a great resource for